I wasn't initially sure if I was going to make a video on this showcase, but I just figured it's kind of tradition and thought I would do it anyway. And also, not to get overly personal right now, but since I'm back in the unemployed world and I don't currently have a job as a game journalist anymore, why not? If I'm not going to be writing about video games, why not make some videos about them? I might even have another idea for a video game related series I talked about in a community post, so maybe that'll happen. But right now, you know, it's tradition. I do videos on the gaming live streams, and I thought this one would be interesting to talk about, hopefully. Also, just because this camera picks up a lot of noise, if you hear any music in the background, I think some of my neighbors are just practicing their music or something like that. Which is actually kind of great for me, because instead of needing to find some royalty-free copyright music or anything, I could just have my neighbors play music. Thank you, neighbors. Anyway, yes, welcome back to I Want to Talk About, the series where I take a topic, I sit on camera, and I blabber about it. And as you can tell from the title today, I want to talk about the latest Nintendo Direct partner showcase for February 2024. You guys know the drill by this point. It's Nintendo Direct season. There's typically 3 every year. 1 in February, 1 in June, 1 in September, give or take maybe a month or 2 here and there. So with it being February, of course, everyone's been like, Nintendo Direct, are we getting a Nintendo Direct soon? As soon as that calendar hit February 1st, of course, everyone's fever was going up. I don't think that's the term I meant to use. I probably meant to say that hype was reaching a fever pitch, but everyone was like, oh, it's Nintendo Direct time. When are we getting that Nintendo Direct? Let's make a bunch of rumors about a Nintendo Direct. But this year's February Direct looked like it was going to be heading in a different direction, as a lot of the rumors, of course, were claiming that it was going to be a partner showcase, which obviously it ended up being. And honestly, I'm not really that surprised about that. If you guys checked out my video on the last Nintendo Direct from September of 2023, I mentioned that between the fact that we were getting a lot more re-releases as well as the lineup being incredibly Mario-centric, that I was feeling like the Switch was kind of entering the end of its life, and that I wouldn't have been surprised if we only had 1 or 2 more showcases dedicated to the current generation Nintendo Switch before we hear about the next console, presumably the Switch 2. And the fact that this show came along as a partner showcase pretty much confirmed in my mind that, yeah, the next showcase we get from Nintendo is probably going to be the unveiling of the next platform. This show probably just exists to kind of fill the typical February quota of a Nintendo Direct, while also letting people know that, yeah, there's still going to be stuff to play on your current Switch while you wait for the next one. So with that in mind, I didn't go into the show expecting the world. I kind of figured it was just going to be some third-party stuff, some indie stuff. I was just hoping to find some stuff that I want to play, and ultimately, I think the show was alright. It definitely wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing, of course, but as far as being a partner showcase, it did give me more than I expected as far as games that I actually want to play, even if it wasn't the most exciting thing in the world. Obviously, I have my script here, I have everything that was shown, and I'm gonna get into it. Forewarning, do not be surprised if I blow through some of these games. I already expect that this video is going to somehow be longer than the actual Nintendo Direct itself, so I don't want to mess around too much here. But to start off, we got into a pretty big announcement right off the top, a Switch port of Grounded. A lot of you guys probably have heard about this in some capacity already. I didn't really make a video talking about it, even though I possibly could have, but yes, recently Xbox announced at a showcase of some kind that they were going to start bringing some of their first-party games to PlayStation and to Switch, and this was the first proper announcement that we got of any Xbox game coming to the Switch. And yeah, ultimately, I don't have a whole lot to say about this game in particular coming to the Switch. I do think it's weird seeing an Xbox game show up at a Nintendo broadcast, but I don't really have a strong opinion on this game coming to the Switch because I have played Grounded, but it's not really my kind of game, so I can't really say that I'm like, oh my god, Grounded, can't wait to play it on the Switch. Maybe it'll be fun. It seems like a decent fit for the Switch. Can't say it's anything I'm really going that head over heels about. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you are looking forward to playing it on the Switch or PlayStation since it's also coming to PlayStation. But for me, I don't have much of an opinion on this. It's coming out April 16th though, so if you're looking forward to it, it is going to be coming pretty soon. Moving on from there, we got to take a look at Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist, the sequel to a 2021 game called Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights. I don't know much about the first game. I've never heard of it before this show gave me the sequel, but it seems to have been a pretty good, pretty underrated game that came out in 2021, so it's nice to see that it's getting a sequel. It's like a 2D platforming action RPG hybrid with some pretty cool combat. It looks nice, it's definitely interesting, but I feel like I'll need to see a little bit more of it before I determine if I really want to play it myself. It doesn't have an established date, but it's said to be coming out later this year, so hopefully I'll see it one or two more times before it actually does release. And hopefully it doesn't get swallowed up in a bunch of other games. Moving on from there, we got to take a look at Arranger, a role-puzzling adventure. This actually seemed like one of the most unique games at the show, and a really cool idea. It's a grid-based RPG where you move your character and it also moves the entire row or column that they are on. Thus, it moves everything else along with it, which is pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I'm sure it exists somewhere in the indie space and I just haven't noticed, but it seems really unique and really fun. I think this is one I'm going to have to keep my eye out for. I'm not sure if I'll definitely play it because I'm not the biggest RPG guy, but it looks pretty awesome, and it's coming out at some point this summer, so this could be something to look into if I end up hearing some good things about it when it drops. Next up, we got another look at Unicorn Overlord, a game that showed up at the previous Nintendo Direct back in September, I believe. It seems interesting if it's a game that you're into, but these kinds of 2D strategy-esque games aren't really my thing, so this didn't do much for me the first time I saw it, and it didn't do much for me now either. I do love the visual design, but otherwise, yeah, I'll leave this one to the people that are more interested in it. If you are interested, it's coming out March 8th, and there is a demo for it out now, so that's definitely something to look forward to if these kinds of strategy, tactical RPG type games are more of your thing. Then we got into a series of re-releases, starting off with Monster Hunter Stories, a Switch port of the 2017 or 2016 in Japan 3DS game. And it's cool that this is coming to the Switch. It's cool that now both of the Monster Hunter Stories games will be available on the platform. But as someone who's not really into Monster Hunter anything, this pretty much flew over my head. I've tried to play the Monster Hunter series a couple times, but none of the games that I've played have really done much for me, and I don't think this kind of spin-off is going to do much more either. It is cool that they added a new museum with some music and concept art. That's a neat little bonus for people who already have the game. Nothing that's going to sell me on it, but again, it's cool that it's on the Switch, and it's cool for people who are more of a fan of it than I am. And it's coming out sometime this summer, so that's something to look forward to. From there, we got an announcement that was really surprising to me that I totally did not expect to see. Epic Mickey Rebrushed. This admittedly kind of blew me away. A full remake of the 2010 Wii game Epic Mickey. I had no idea this was in the cards. I had no idea that it was even possible to happen. I wasn't even sure who had the rights to the IP since Disney Interactive dissolved in 2016, but it appears to be THQ Nordic. They really just scoop up everything, don't they? I also didn't know until after the showcase that it's Purple Lamp Studios developing the game, which is awesome. If you don't know, Purple Lamp was the team that made the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated remake, as well as the most recent SpongeBob game, The Cosmic Shake, both of which I really enjoyed, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do here. Admittedly, I'm not too into Epic Mickey. I remember when it first came out back in 2010, I was super hyped for it. I even had like a t-shirt with the Epic Mickey paint dripping logo on it. But the game itself didn't really impress me, and even last year I went back to give it another chance and I still wasn't super impressed. But again, sometimes remakes are good in the sense that they could help improve games that might not have been that great the first time around, and I wouldn't mind giving this a try in its remade form. It's said to be coming out sometime later this year, and that's something that I will try to keep an eye on. Purple Lamp's done a really good job as of late, and I'm interested to see how they're able to improve on Epic Mickey. Here's hoping it comes out and ends up being good. Moving on from there, we then got to take a look at Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. It's an enhanced version of Shin Megami Tensei 5 with a new storyline, and beyond being a new version, this also doubles as a port to other consoles since it was originally just a Switch exclusive, but now this version will be available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC as well. I know that's cool to a lot of people because I know there are people who really enjoy the SMT series and especially SMT5, But again, as someone who doesn't really play the series, I'll just give it a cursory thumbs up and say I'm happy for those that are more into it. Again, a new version of SMT5 wasn't going to make me personally want to play it anymore. But again, it seems like a cool announcement, and I hope for those that are more into Shin Megami Tensei that it ends up being a good game. It's coming out June 21st, so that's definitely something to look forward to if this series appeals to you more than it appeals to me. After that, we got to take a look at the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. This was a bit of a surprise to me, but a pleasant one at that. I know how beloved these classic Battlefront games are. I myself have not played them. My only real experience with the Star Wars Battlefront anything is the campaign of the Battlefront 2 reboot, and the less said of that, the better. But I know that these games that are in this collection are much more beloved, so it's nice to see them come to modern consoles, complete with all of the bonus content that they're going to be coming with. They have definitely slipped up, but I can say if Aspire's done anything right, it's preserved these older Star Wars games, because they have done a really good job of getting a lot of these old classic Star Wars games onto modern platforms. And it's nice to see that Battlefront is getting that treatment now too. And hey, maybe the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games could come along next. Who knows? This collection's coming out March 14th, which is pretty soon actually, so that's pretty exciting and definitely something to look forward to. Even though it was announced at the Nintendo Direct, it is also coming to other platforms, so that's nice. And it's cool to see that it's going to be on modern consoles. Good for the Star Wars fans on this one. Next up, we got another quick look at South Park Snow Day. By no means am I a South Park fan. I don't watch the show, and when it comes to the games, I tried to play a little Stick of Truth, but I just wasn't really that into it. But this looks like it could be pretty decent fun. The combat looks kind of neat. I think the visual style translates South Park into 3D pretty nicely. And the game as a whole looks like it could be rather chaotic. It looks very multiplayer-centric. I don't know how fun it's going to be in solo play, so I don't know if it's something that I'm necessarily going to buy. But it seems cool, and if you're really into South Park, I think it should be a worthwhile experience. I have seen some South Park fans that are pretty excited for it, so hopefully it comes out and ends up being good. Again, if I'm going to play it, I'd probably wait until it comes to, I don't know, PS Plus or Game Pass or something like that, but otherwise, it seems decent enough. And it's coming out March 26th, so it's coming pretty soon. That's something that might be worth checking out for yourself if you're more into this series. After that, we got to take a look at Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream, the latest installment in the Sword Art Online franchise. It feels weird saying this again in this video because I feel like I'm saying it a lot, but these types of games aren't really my thing, so I don't think I will be partaking in this when it does come out. But it seems cool enough. The combat looks kind of intriguing, but again, I feel like Sword Art Online is one of those franchises where if you're not into it already, you're probably not going to get into it with another new one. So I don't think this will be the game to do it for me, but for people who are fans of Sword Art Online, I hope it ends up being really fun and exciting for you. There's no confirmed date, but it's coming out sometime in 2024, and hopefully it ends up being enjoyable. Then we got to see Gundam Breaker 4. I'm just sad it wasn't a new Custom Robo game. I know that seems weird, but when it started up, my first thought was, oh my god, Custom Robo? But then it just turned out to be another Gundam game, and I was just like, oh, well, okay. In all seriousness, while I don't play Gundam games, they are usually a safe bet to be pretty decent, so I expect the same out of this one. It does look fun and all, but yeah, I just wish we got a new Custom Robo game already. It's coming out sometime in 2024. Hopefully, if you're a bigger Gundam fan than I am, it ends up being something that's exciting to you. What's a little more exciting to me is the next game that was announced, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. I had been hearing before the show that a Monkey Ball game was supposed to be showing up, and it's nice to see that it did get confirmed, and that it is a wholly new game in the series. Yes, I know that 2021's Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania was technically a new game, but it was also technically a remake of sorts of some of the previous games. So this is the first wholly new Super Monkey Ball game that we've gotten since Super Monkey Ball Banana Splits on the PS Vita in 2012. 12 years ago. I'm glad to see that some of the recent games have done well enough for Sega to say, yeah, sure, we'll continue making Monkey Ball games. Because this franchise is fun. It's always good for some chaos and insanity, and I fully expect this new one to bring even more of that. Especially with the news that there is going to be a 16-player online multiplayer mode. I myself probably won't partake in that portion of it, but I wish good luck to everyone who does, because that sounds absolutely hectic. And personally, I've been enjoying the recent Monkey Ball games, so I'm definitely excited to see this franchise continue and to try out this new game for myself. It's coming out June 25th, so there's still a tiny bit of a wait for it, but I'm definitely interested in checking it out when it does release later this year. From there, we got to take a look at World of Goo 2. 16 years after the release of the first World of Goo, a sequel is finally here. That's insane. Apparently this was previously announced at the Game Awards, but somehow I blanked on it. Don't look at me like that. It's a Jeff Keighley show. There's so many games announced at those things, it's easy to blank on them. Either way, I never played the original World of Goo, but as someone who's come to appreciate puzzle games like this, it's pretty cool. And I'm happy to see that this actually exists. And the gameplay that was shown during the Direct itself looked really fun. I like how weird the game is willing to get, and while I don't know if I'm going to play it myself, I'm definitely happy that it exists. The sequel's coming out May 23rd, and I hope it ends up going well and doing well, especially given how long the wait has been between the first game and this new one. Even if I don't play it myself, I'm definitely rooting for this one. After that, we got to take a look at Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, a sequel to the 2014 or 2012 in Japan 3DS game Fantasy Life, a game that I didn't know anything about before this show. And even after seeing it along with this new game right here, life simulation games like this aren't really my cup of tea, so again, this was something that was never really going to do a whole lot for me. It looks cute, and I see this game being pretty perfect for the Switch, but otherwise, not really my thing. It's coming out October 10th, so hopefully it ends up carving out its own niche and doing pretty well, especially given that it's going to be coming out at a time that I expect will probably be pretty busy for new games. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. After that, we got to see another Crab's Treasure. Finally, this is what the Souls-like genre's been needing all this time. Crabs. Because sure, Souls-likes don't give enough people crabs as it is. Apparently this game was already previously announced, but it just seems like they wanted to reiterate its existence, especially as a Switch release, and it's being developed by Aggro Crab. Wow. It actually seems pretty silly and fun, and honestly, I myself am kind of tired of Souls-likes. There's so many of them, and it's not really a genre I care too much for. But I do respect what this one is going for, in that it's willing to be so silly and bizarre and goofy. Apparently, I've read that it does offer some kind of easy mode that just gives players a gun, which I honestly think is pretty hilarious. I know there are a lot of Souls-likes players who really don't like easy modes in games, but as someone who really likes games offering difficulty options, I like that not only is this one offering such a thing, but it's doing so in a way that's really funny. Giving a crab a gun, that's pretty hilarious. It's coming out April 25th, and in my research that I did after the video, I found out that the game is also coming out day one on Xbox Game Pass, so I'll actually get to try it for myself. I won't have to question if it ends up being good or bad. I'll get to see for myself when it does come along, so that's pretty exciting. Then we got to take another look at Penny's Big Breakaway. This is a game I've been looking forward to for a while, as some of you may know from a past Nintendo Direct video that I did, as well as my most anticipated games of 2024 video. The gameplay they showed here still looks just as incredible as when I first saw it, but I'm not going to talk too deeply about it because there was something bigger here at the Direct with this game than the mere fact that it was shown, and that big thing was that after the Direct was over, the game was released. They announced during the show, yeah, it's going to be available today, which was awesome. I knew it was supposed to be coming out early this year, but I didn't know when. Of course, they didn't really confirm it. But it's nice to see that it's out, and I'm glad that it was able to meet that early year release. Haven't gotten to play it yet, but I will definitely have to soon because it just looks too good, and some of the reception that I've been seeing so far has been really good for it. So yeah, I'm definitely just happy to see it come out, and I'm happy to see it get some positive reception early on. Definitely gonna have to jump in on it myself. After that, we got to see the Suika game multiplayer mode expansion pack. It's a paid DLC expansion for the fruit puzzle matching game Suika game. So that's a thing. I didn't realize it till after watching the show a second time through, but you have to pay for the multiplayer? That seems kind of weird and a little bit backwards. I'm sure the game is fun and simple enough, and I'm sure that even with the multiplayer, it's going to be even more fun. But this isn't a game that's going to make me run out and start buying stocks or anything like that. I don't feel like I need to manage my portfolio after seeing this one. But it's cute, it's fun, it's cool, and if you are into this game, the multiplayer pack was released right after the Direct was over, so hopefully if you did grab it, you're having a good time with it. After that, we got to look at Pepper Grinder, the new debut 2D side-scroller from developer RH. I hope I pronounced that even remotely right. And being published by Devolver Digital. The first thing I thought of when I saw this game was, oh my god, is that Bob from Monsters vs. Aliens? And then the second, and probably more notable thought was, is this a new Drill Dozer? I don't know, maybe it's just because of the drill and stuff like that, but I thought of Drill Dozer when I saw it. But it actually looks really fun. It's a cool, unique take on the 2D side-scroller with being able to drill through platforms and all that stuff as you travel through stages. It's really fun, really clever. I feel like I haven't seen a ton of games that are really like this. I've seen games that basically make you drill through things, but not games where it's kind of the basis. So that's pretty fun, and I honestly might have to try it out for myself when it does come along. It's coming out March 28th, and there is a demo for it out now. I'll probably have to try that demo out and hopefully end up playing the proper game when it does release later next month. From there, we got to take a look at Pocket Card Jockey Ride On. All this time, I had no idea what Pocket Card Jockey was, but apparently it's a horse riding game from Game Freak that also involves solitaire. I kind of want it now. It's basically a remake of the first game, and it was already released on Apple Arcade last January, but now it just seems like it's here on the Switch. And it would make sense to see it come to the Switch, given that the original Pocket Card Jockey was on the 3DS and had its initial release on the 3DS. Again, I know it's a different card game than Solitaire that's being played here, but as someone who is an extreme lover of Solitaire, I kind of feel like I want to play it now. Yeah, it's silly, yeah, it's dumb, but it looks cute and it looks fun. And the game was released after the Direct, and it's $15, which isn't that bad of a price. Of course, having just lost my job, any amount of money seems like a lot of money right now, but maybe it's something I'll try out at some point. From there, we had a sizzle reel of a couple different games, and because they didn't show much of these games, I'm not going to talk for long about them, so I'm just going to blow through my thoughts on the games that we saw in the sizzle reel. The first of them being Snufkin Melody of Moomin Valley. Cool art style, don't really know what it is, but it's coming out March 7th, so it's coming pretty soon, and you'll be able to see it for yourself. Then we saw Tales of Kenzera Zau, a cool-looking 2.5D Metroidvania that I remember seeing at the Game Awards that looks like it's going to have a super emotional story to it as well. Definitely keeping it on my radar. It's coming out April 23rd. Then we saw Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Sweep the Board. Probably would be more interested in this if I was actually into Demon Slayer. Still looks like it could be fun, and the rhythm minigame looked really cute too. It's coming out April 26th, if that's something you're interested in. Then there was Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. That's fun. I've heard people like this game. I haven't played it myself, and I don't really care for it myself, but it's nice to see it show up on the Switch, and it's coming out March 15th, so that's pretty cute. Then we got to see Contra Operation Galuga. Glad to see it finally has a date. Looks like it'll be a great return to form for Contra, and definitely something I'd like to try out myself, and it's coming March 12th with a demo out now. I'll definitely have to jump on that demo at some point. And then the last game in the sizzle reel, probably one of the most notable parts of the sizzle reel, and maybe even the show as a whole, was Pentiment. Why was this Xbox game relegated to the sizzle reel, but Grounded got its own whole portion to start the show? I'm confused. I myself am not too huge into Pentiment. I tried to play it when it was on Game Pass, but I couldn't really get into it. I'm glad others get to play it. I would have been more excited if Hi-Fi Rush was one of the Xbox games coming to the Switch. As of right now, it's not. It's only coming to PS5, and Sea of Thieves is also coming to PS5, but not Switch. Again, Hi-Fi Rush would have been a little more exciting to me personally. But Pentiment drops on Switch the day after the Direct, which, as of the time of me filming it, is tomorrow, but by the time you see this video, you'll probably be playing it on your Switch as we speak. So there you go. But that was the end of the sizzle reel, and then we only had two more major announcements. The first one was a set of rare games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. 5 different games, those games being Snake Rattle and Roll, RC Pro-Am, Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, Killer Instinct, and Blast Corps. With the exception of Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, I'm pretty sure all of these games are either already on the Rare Replay collection, or in the case of Killer Instinct Classic, that exists on my Xbox and I have the game on Xbox. So for me, this doesn't really grab me all that much. I'm sure there are some people that are excited about it, but it's not like these games are Rare's heaviest hitters in my opinion. And not that I really expected this to happen, but given that there were rumors before the show talking about GameCube games showing up on Switch Online, that obviously would have been far more hype to me than this. I'm sure there are people who are excited to have these games on Switch Online, but for me, I'm not really that interested myself. I already have access to these games pretty easily, with the exception of one of them, and I don't think I'm necessarily losing sleep about not having the other one. But these were added to Switch Online the day of the show, which again, as of the filming, is today. Obviously, by the time this goes up, it won't be today, but some of you probably already have these games on your Switch. You're probably playing them yourselves, and I hope you're having a good time with them. And then we got into the final announcement of the show, which again was quite a big surprise, that being Endless Ocean Luminous. Even though it was leaked a bit before the show, a new Endless Ocean game was not on my 2024 bingo card. The first two Endless Ocean games were kind of forgotten entries in the Wii lineage, and I didn't think they'd randomly go back to the series right now. But then again, I mean, Nintendo's been king of the world with the Switch, so really they have free reign to do whatever goofy thing they want to, I guess. And it seems like Endless Ocean is a nice, really relaxing game, which as far as underseas adventures makes it a bit more approachable than something like, say, Subnautica, which I've heard can trigger a lot of different fears. I don't have any experience with the Endless Ocean games. I've heard of them, and I remember seeing them quite a bit in Nintendo Power magazines back in the day. I never played them myself, though, so I don't know what to go off of other than what was shown here. And I appreciate how serene and gentle the game looks, but again, I feel like I'd be more excited if I had more of a history with this series. It seems like it'll be pretty good though, and I am rooting for it to do well. I just hope that it ends up being fun to play if you haven't played the first two. I guess we'll have to wait and see, because the game comes out May 2nd, and apparently it is published by Nintendo, I believe. It technically counts as a first-party game. So hey, at least that's something on the first-party schedule that's not Mario, right? But yeah, hopefully it ends up being good. So overall, yeah, as I said, the show was fine, alright, nothing amazing, nothing terrible. It was just there, kind of. Expectations were kept in check pretty early, so ultimately I wasn't overly disappointed. I will say that I was surprised by how many games there were that I actually want to play, but otherwise, yeah, it was a pretty light show. Not a lot of huge standouts, and yeah, it's definitely clear that this was probably the last show dedicated entirely to the current Switch. I'm inclined to believe that Nintendo would not have done a simple partner showcase if they weren't gearing up for the next generation, or whatever is the next platform that we're going to be getting from them. I'm sure Nintendo's going to have maybe one or two more first-party titles packed up for the second half. Maybe we will hear about something coming to the Switch at the Pokemon Presents show that's happening next week. But otherwise, get ready because we are about to enter into the transitional period for the next Nintendo system. It might be a slower few months for the Switch as a result, and there's not going to be a ton of first-party stuff ultimately. But all in all, the show was alright. It didn't really get me angry or upset or anything because since my expectations were kept in check, there was nothing to be upset or angry about. But again, it didn't really blow my mind. It just had a couple moments where I was like, oh, that seems pretty cool. So ultimately, if I had to grade this thing, I'd probably just give it a C, a flat C, maybe leaning toward a C-. I'm not 100% sure. I would probably just put it at a C. A few interesting announcements, a few games I'm definitely looking forward to playing, but obviously not a big show. It was never really expected to be. And if anything, I'm just glad it kind of confirmed to me that A, Xbox games are indeed coming to other platforms, and B, that we're going to start hearing about that new system sooner or later. So thank you for proving my point that I made in my last Nintendo Direct video right, when I said that we probably only had one or two more Directs devoted to the current generation Switch left to get through. Thank you for making me look correct. But that's just my opinion on this partner showcase. What did you guys think about it? I acknowledge that even though I didn't love the show, I probably liked it more than some of you did. So yeah, did you love the show? Did you not love it? Were you indifferent toward it? What are the games that you're most looking forward to playing? And when do you think we're going to hear about that next Nintendo platform? When do you think the showcase is going to be? Do you think it's going to be at Nintendo's typical time around June, or do you think we're going to hear about it earlier, later? Do you think they're just going to skip a June showcase entirely? Whatever your thoughts and opinions are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe and support some of my other ventures that I have linked in the description, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And yeah, I'm thinking of maybe doing a couple more video game related videos in this series pretty soon. I talked about it in a community post, what I think I want to do, and I've talked to some people that seem pretty enthusiastic about the idea and think it's a pretty good one. I still have some things I'm working through in my head about it before I start really getting busy with making the videos in this series. Hopefully they will come sooner rather than later. So stay tuned for that, but until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.